Recently, my mom left my emotionally abusive father, leaving just her, me and my sibling by ourselves, that I was happy at this decision until I found out that the 10K of debt I thought I was in was actually far more than that. I knew that throughout my first year of university, he had taken out some private student loans for me. I was told by my father that since I was only 18 at the time, the bank we loaned from wouldn't allow me to pull out loans since I didn't have good credit. He told me that he would be able to take out these student loans under my mother's name, and that he'd pay them off as soon as I'm done with school. That I found out recently that the loans were in fact under my name with my mom, just as a co-signer. Also that the loans were far more than was needed to pay for my tuition. She did not know this either, by the way. He had taken out a total of 48K in private student loans under my name. I remember signing for these. He did not forge my signature. When I asked exactly what I was signing for, or more details about everything, he told me, "Stop asking questions and just trust me." Every time I tried to push for answers, I got that response. I trusted him. I trusted that he would not screw me over, that I had trusted him to help build my credit when I turned 18. I found out now that he's completely messed up my credit too. My TransUnion score is 669 and my Equifax score is 577. He used my tuition money for rent and bills. I do not know what he used the money he got from my credit cards for. Throughout the past few years, he had convinced us that he was making a lot of money from his job. I now realize that he was likely lying about that and just secretly screwing me over. And my mom too, since he's also messed up her credit, that I have 3 closed credit cards that are in debt, I think. One is $6,055 balance, $2,250 credit limit, with $6,055 due. The second is $12,864 reported balance, $1,000 credit limit, with $0 due. Does this second one mean that I don't have to pay off the balance? The third one is $6,228 balance, $6,000 credit limit, with $714 due. From what I have looked up, it seems like I owe a little over $35,000 in credit card debt, that I also know that he's messed up my siblings' credit too. I'm not sure by how much. I haven't had the chance to look into that. Also, I think it's important to note that he currently owes 3 different family members over $200K. I found this out this week too. Flash forward to now, I found out about these loans a few days ago. I now have a total of $58K in student loan debt in addition to my credit debt. My first student loan payment is due in less than 3 weeks. That I need advice. I don't want to take legal action against him. I don't want him to end up in jail. He is currently helping us by paying for our rent and car, even though my mom has left him. My mom doesn't currently have a job, though she is looking, and my job doesn't make nearly enough to provide for ourselves without his help. In August, I will start a higher-paying job and possibly pick up a second job to pay off my debt. So I could ask him to just send me money every month instead of paying for rent and the car. I could use that money to help pay off the debt that as of right now, I am not worried about my federal student loans. The minimum payment is doable, and I will receive around $14K of tuition reimbursement in March-April, so that will help. Should I consolidate the private loans? Should I refinance? I briefly considered filing for bankruptcy, since I have no assets, but I know that's probably a bad idea. Is there a way for me to not have to deal with this debt without landing him in a lot of trouble? Relevant comments. Did OOP know what they signed? OOP. It was an electronic signature for the loan where you use the mouse to draw out your signature. He called me over to sign it on his laptop. At the time, I still thought that the money would be under my mother's name. I also did not know how much money it would be. Commenter 1. I don't want to take legal action against him. Okay, then you're going to have to pay the loans or declare bankruptcy. Commenter 2. I don't want to take legal action against him. I don't want him to end up in jail. You need to get past this, because he doesn't care what he does to you. And he isn't only hurting you. He is hurting and taking advantage of a lot of people, and is actively ruining your futures to benefit himself. He is currently helping us by paying for our rent and car, even though my mom has left him. He isn't helping you. He is providing just enough to hope you don't take action against him. And the money is money he owes you, not that he is using to support you out of care for you and your family, that he is not helping. He is using money he took from you and others to pay for that. You are paying for that help in the form of increasing debt, not him. And if he doesn't face serious repercussions for his actions, he is going to keep doing it, and you will never get out of the increasing debt. He'll continue to saddle you and everyone else with that, at the very least. You need to make sure you and your sibling's credit is locked down now to prevent him from taking out new cards and loans under your names. But you really need to just report him to the police so you can remove that debt. Why are you so worried about ruining his life? When he isn't worried about ruining the lives of you, your siblings, and everyone else he has taken advantage of? If anyone ruins his life, it will be him by his own actions. Update, January 8th, 2025 Editor's Note. Remove the top part of the post as it is a rehash of the original post update. After reading all these responses and talking with some close friends of mine, I see that the best thing to do is file against him. I brought up the topic to my mother last night, and she, being very religious, said, "No, don't do that. God wouldn't want you to harm another person like this, let alone your own father." She said that she'd rather take on the private student loan debt by refinancing and transferring it to her, but honestly, that wouldn't remove the credit card debt, and it'd leave her with the debt instead. I don't think that's a good choice. I think that if I file against my dad, my mother will kick me out, so if I file, I will already be prepared to move out. That being said, I currently only have $2,000 saved up from work, and that will not be enough to move out on my own, that I need more money to get a car, place, and overall survive. I just moved to the city in less than a year ago, so I don't have many people to rely on here. My boyfriend offered to let me live at his family's house, but I'd still need to be able to travel to and from work, and I don't want to overstay my welcome. I also don't have the option to move because I have to work in the state of Florida to qualify for my university's tuition reimbursement in March. I have over $14,000 of tuition reimbursement coming in. My best bet would be to wait till March and then leave. It breaks my heart to do this because I could be disowned by every person in my family, but I can't let myself live with this debt. Prior to this, I thought I only had $10,000 worth of debt, and with that I could have easily lived a good life and paid it off quickly. I'm still not 100% set on this decision, but I do realize that it is the logical thing to do. I want to speak with my sibling to see how much debt my father put them in, and to see if they want to file too. I also want to speak with a lawyer or someone more knowledgeable than me about this. Does anyone have any advice based on this update? Update number 2 in response to the comments I've gotten. My mom's religious comments are obviously ridiculous, but I'm mostly looking for help with how to file or what to expect. That I have records showing $23,000 of refunds went to a bank account he controlled. I didn't see a dime of that money, and I think he used it to pay for a vacation NGL. Relevant comments: is it possible for OOP to find a new place or rent near their job? OOP. I'm a substitute teacher. I work at different schools around the county, so it wouldn't be possible for me to get a job near work, unfortunately. How did OOP's father get involved on OOP signing the documents with their mother? OOP. All I did was sign. He filled out everything. Now, I understand looking back that I was stupid for signing without asking. But after some further looking into things, I see that the amount of money I was refunded by my school was an insane amount, and not an amount I could have spent by myself in one semester. aka $12,000 extra refunded in a semester where my tuition was only $2,000. He must have used that money himself on non-education related things. Also, the credit cards I did not sign for. I didn't even know that you signed for credit cards. He did that all himself. Commenter 1. It sounds to me like both your mom and your dad are in this together, and that if you don't file against them, they will come out ahead and you will come out behind. Commenter 2. God didn't want your mom to leave your dad either, but she did. So, she doesn't have a leg to stand on when he's preaching to you. Report him to anyone you can. Also, if you were under 18 years old, you can't be held responsible for any contracts. Story 2. My 27F best friend, 26F, turns out to be crazy and is ruining my wedding. Trigger warning. Mentions of death of loved ones, infidelity, grief, possible mental health struggles. Original post February 9th, 2016. Some background info about this girl. Let's call her Jess. At this point in her life, she's kind of a hot mess. She's one of those people who airs everything on Facebook, who has a new love of my life every month and a new best friend every few months. Her relationships and friendships usually end terribly, with both sides hating each other. How did I become being her best friend? Well, she hasn't always been this way. She was relatively normal 5 years ago when I met her, save for the normal early 20s drama. But in the last 2 years, she's lost her mom to cancer and her grandpa to old age, and she doesn't have any other family. She dropped out of school and found out her boyfriend at the time was cheating on her. After the breakup, I was acting like a shoulder to cry on since she had pretty much hit rock bottom. A few months later, she was telling everyone how close we were and started tagging me as her best friend that a few months ago I got engaged. Unbeknownst to me, she started telling everyone she was my maid of honor, even though I've always planned on making my sister my maid of honor. But this was right after Jess' mom had died, so I just improvised and said I would have two maid of honors. It's still not what I would have liked, but I literally couldn't bring myself to tell this poor girl I don't consider her my best friend. That was my first mistake. About a month after I got engaged, she met a guy. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. A week later, she was married. A month later, she was divorced, separated. I don't know if it's legal yet. I don't know if anything was legal. But she changed her last name and is still going by that, so I'm guessing it was legal. Ever since the divorce, my own wedding planning has become unbearable. She is constantly telling me how marriage doesn't work, love can't save things, etc., etc., and criticizes how much I'm spending on my wedding when she had hers for a few hundred Vegas wedding. It's gotten to the point where she's rude to the vendors I'm meeting with, but she gets really upset when I don't take her to meetings since she's the maid of honor. So I'm at the point where I just want to cut her out of the wedding, like I should have done in the first place. However, when I confess this to a mutual friend, my friend let me know to be careful because Jess can be really vindictive. When she found out her ex from a few years ago was getting married, she tried to contact the bride and tell her he was cheating on her. He wasn't. One of her last besties was fired from her job because Jess made multiple email accounts and regularly contacted customer service complaining about her. And since she knows so much info about my wedding already, I'm really terrified that she'll somehow try to sabotage AITA. So basically, I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like this wedding is getting away from me, but I also don't know if it'd be less painful to keep her a part of it, because it would save me all the drama. I don't know what she's capable of, so I'm really worried that she'll somehow make everything harder for me if I don't just grin and bear it. Help.TLDR. Girl I've been comforting through traumatic times turns out to be batshit crazy, and now I think she's going to ruin my wedding if I don't go with the flow. The relevant thingy synchronous to add. It might be a good idea to have passwords with your vendors to confirm your identity. Thank you for the advice. I was actually considering the passwords thing, but I don't know if that's taking things too far. I guess I'm kind of worried about vendors resenting me for being high maintenance. But I hear about bridezillas/momzillas/in-lawzillas all the time, so hopefully this isn't the worst they've seen. Jiggle Daddy Dawkins uses just tell her Jess. You knew him for 3 weeks before you married him. What in the ever-loving fuck did you think was going to happen? If I've only been seeing a girl for 3 weeks, I won't even poop with her in a half-mile radius. Seriously, the week before the wedding was everyone kindly saying, you sure? You've known him an awfully short time. And her responding, everyone's jealous because they can't be us. Yeah, Angelo Pappas sounds like you need to have a very uncomfortable talk with this girl. Tell her what you told us here, and let her know her negative attitude has no place in planning your wedding. You're sorry things aren't working out for her, but she is not allowed to pile this stuff on you. Tell her that you cannot have her as a maid of honor. And since she seems to think so negatively about marriage, you wouldn't expect her to do this. Up to you, if you even let her attend the wedding as a guest. Oh my God, I haven't even thought about explaining how her negative attitude towards marriage could be the excuse for not having her in the wedding party. That sounds ridiculously logical, but I've been blinded by a flurry of crazy. Thank you. Update May 10, 2016, 3 months later, guys. This went full-blown crazy. Before I could have a conversation with Jess, she confronted me about it. Apparently, the mutual I confided and let the whole story leak, and a twisted, more dramatic version made its way back to Jess. Shit, meet FAN, that IT was an hour or two of me, trying to explain to Jess in a somewhat calm manner that I felt she had overstepped her boundaries, and it was really taking a mental toll on me, while she yelled about what a terrible friend I was, and how she's tired of putting all of her faith in the wrong people, and how she was tired of trying her best to be a good maid of honor. I made the mistake of pointing out that I had never asked her to be my maid of honor in the first place. And she responded with, well, then I must be delusional. The first step is admitting you have a problem. So, progress? Needless to say, we aren't on speaking terms. Shortly after that, I took all of your advice and called all of my wedding vendors and let them know that my fiancé and I were going to be the only people making any decisions, and set up a confirmation word with them. Apparently, this shit happens a lot because nobody even asked why. I accidentally forgot to contact the bakery making our cake, but luckily they called me and asked if I was certain I wanted to cancel the wedding cake. Apparently, there was a voicemail left on their machine. Wonder how that happened. Here's where things get really nuts. A few weeks after our blow-up, she apparently met some guy who was the love of her life. A few weeks after that, they're engaged. I can't make this shit up. She did it again. Then our mutual friends get invitations for her wedding, which is the same date as mine. But since they had RSVP'd for my wedding, a lot of them couldn't make it at a few days before her wedding. They have to cancel because he's already married. And you know what? So is she. I guess she never got officially divorced from that first quickie wedding. So as far as I know, no wedding actually happened. I have no idea if they still plan to. I'm just glad to be away from that circus. But anyways, I got married a few weeks ago. Everything was wonderful, the weather was great, and everyone present was a joy to be around, except maybe my uncle who gets a little too dance-y when he's drunk, but family. Thank you to everyone who responded, and to everyone letting me know I'm not helping matters by going with the flow. I will be actively practicing caution when making friends, by running from crazy and not comforting it. That relevant to me and Tisha or anyone else think the mutual friend is kind of shitty? She was the one who told OP to be careful about Jess. Yet she decided it would be a good idea to blab about what OP told her, knowing full well it would get back to Jess. Now instead of telling Jess on her own, terms OP got ambushed instead, that OPI actually asked her about it a few days after the blow-up. Her defense was that she didn't actually tell Jess. She told another mutual friend of ours who told someone else who told someone else who told Jess, so technically it wasn't her fault. Which is how by the time it got to Jess, the story was somewhere along the lines of, OMG, Bubbles One is telling everyone you're ruining her life and sabotaging the wedding. All of us met at work. We all worked at the same restaurant long ago, and it was always a drama-filled place. A lot of the same people still work there and still thrive off of the drama. I'm thinking it's time for me to move on from that specific crowd. Cliques are fun in middle school. In your 20s, not so much. Zebra sand giraffes? I will be actively practicing caution when making friends, by running from crazy and not comforting it. I'd like to nominate the first candidate for your new policy. The mutual friend who somehow let the story leak and repeated to Jess a twisted, more dramatic version of what you had confided in her. OPIV decided to distance myself from that crowd. We're in different points in our lives, and I just don't find the gossiping all that fun. My real besties from high school who were all bridesmaids have all grown up, and we would never pull this crap. I bet Jess was never actually getting married this time. It was just a plot to ensure at least some of your friends didn't make your wedding. OPI suspect that as well, but since she's done it before, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went through with it. I'm assuming they were both trying to get divorced before the wedding and realized they wouldn't be able to in time because some stuff takes time and can't be erased in a jiffy, so they couldn't. Story 3, AITA for refusing to continue providing free childcare for my stepdaughter. Trigger warnings. Emotional abuse and manipulation. Controlling behavior. Entitlement original post. January 6th, 2025, I did a work program with a local clerk of court's office when I was in high school. They hired me when I graduated, and I had my 30 service years before I turned 50. With 30 service years, you can get your full pension at any age. I worked until my first grandchild was born. Then I retired to be grandma daycare. I have 5 grands, 8 male from my stepson, 7 male from my son, 5 female, and 18-month male from my daughter. I babysat all of them with no issues or complaints. I still keep the 18-month-old Monday through Friday and the older one summer and school holidays. My stepdaughter and her boyfriend has been nonstop drama since before the baby was born. When she was 10 weeks pregnant, they presented a 3-page list of rules for when I was babysitting. They said if I didn't sign it, they wouldn't allow me to babysit. I said that I understood their need to do what was best for their baby, and I assured them that there would be no hurt feelings on my end when they made other childcare arrangements. Some of the rules were almost understandable, but most were downright ridiculous, and none of it was going to work for me. I don't remember them all, but some examples are, I can't take the baby anywhere without their permission. I can't watch more than one additional child while babysitting. I can't cook. I had to provide the full name, DOB, and address of any potential visitors ahead of time for their approval of the person being around their child. They have to know any time I have a guest over and know who it is and how long they stay. My 9-year-old cat would have to be kept out of rooms where the baby would be. Even when the baby wasn't there, I couldn't get another pet without their agreement. When she was 7 months along, they came back with revised rules in an attempt to compromise. I again let them know that their expectations were not going to fit with my life, and they should just find other childcare. 2 days after my stepdaughter went back to work, she called and asked if I could keep Cullen the next day. I agreed, but made it clear that I was going to provide safe, appropriate care according to my judgment, and I wasn't going to deal with complaints or whatever that I was violating their rules, because I wanted it very clear that I was not agreeing to any of that. My stepdaughter was okay on the day she picked Cullen up and dropped him off. I felt like she was interrogating me every time she picked him up, but it was tolerable. But her boyfriend was downright rude. I got to the point where I actually spent Sunday dreading the start of the week because of dealing with both of them, but especially his behavior. At minimum, he'd pick up Cullen, make a big deal of partially undress him, make at least one snide comment about my cat, or if I had any grandchild over besides the 18-month-old, or if I had cooked or whatever. Then he'd say, "I guess we don't have any choice but to put up with this for now. Or I guess you were happy that you won." This went on for 4 months. That I spoke to my stepdaughter several times about it and told her that obviously they are very unhappy with how I cared for Cullen and that they should really work on finding something else, and that in the meantime he needed to be less vocal about it. It would get better for a day or two, and then he'd start again. It all came to a head as Thanksgiving was approaching. He was very verbal about the fact that he didn't want me to keep all my grandchildren over the break. I made it very clear that there would be a couple of days that I had all of them and that they needed to make other arrangements if they had a problem. They didn't make other arrangements, and when he picked Cullen up on the first day that I had all my grands, he was very rude, and although nothing happened, everyone was happy, clean, fed, had a great day. He said to Cullen that he was sorry that they had no choice except to leave him in an unsafe situation to be neglected. That I called my stepdaughter that night, relayed to her what was said, and told her that she had 2 weeks to make other arrangements and that she needed to drop off and pick up Cullen during those 2 weeks, and if her boyfriend came to drop him off, I would refuse to keep him, and if he picked him up, I would not keep him again. So things were better only dealing with her. At some point, she asked me if I would keep him until January because they found someone, but he couldn't start until then. I agreed. She picked Cullen up and dropped him off. Everything was fine. New Year's Day, several people sent me a screenshot of a post her boyfriend made on social media about how thankful he was that they were finally able to leave Cullen without worrying about his safety or him being neglected. He didn't outright name me or accuse me of anything specific, but anyone who knows us knows I was keeping him, and the post implied plenty that I was just happy that it was over. Friday, she called me and said that their new childcare provider had told her that Cullen wasn't a good fit and that she couldn't bring him back Monday. She asked if I would start keeping him again. I told her that I was sorry for their situation, but I really don't feel comfortable keeping him. That my husband and stepson both think I should watch Cullen under the agreement that Amanda drop him off and pick him up because they think her boyfriend is the big problem and that I should just do it for Cullen's sake. My stepson also commented that I'd probably be more willing to let it go if it had been a conflict with my daughter's husband, but my pension is about $4,000 per month plus continuation of my health insurance. That's about 40% of our take-home income, if that matters. AITA for refusing to start watching Cullen again? Update. January 7th, 2025, next day. First, let me just address the common suggestion that Amanda's boyfriend is purposely sabotaging their childcare to trap her at home. They make roughly the same amount of money and definitely can't afford to lose half their income. I seriously doubt he wants her to stay home. Second, I would never tell my stepson to find someone else to watch his child because of a simple difference of opinion. My grandson and I have a very close bond. He's the oldest, and it would break my heart and as if he didn't come spend his holidays and summers with me. Plus, he's a huge help with the little ones when I have them all, and things get hectic. I would never be so petty as to make him, and all my other grandchildren, suffer because of an adult disagreement so I sort of asked around about why they were dropped by their new sitter so quickly. Apparently, they weren't. Amanda picked Cullen up and dropped him off both days he went, and everything was lovely. He did cry quite a bit, but they expected that to get better as he adjusted to not being held as much. Why husband and stepson talked to Amanda, and she said that they realized that they can't afford daycare. They already made the easy changes, packing a lunch, giving up fancy coffee, etc. And his dad and her mom are both giving them about $100 per month toward childcare, and they can barely afford it, but they didn't realize that you have to send everything the baby needs. I buy diapers, wipes, formula, bottles, extra clothes, etc. They just hand me the baby. They didn't realize that daycare didn't cover all that. Also, imagine her boyfriend's surprise when he found out what the staffing rates are in this very expensive daycare. One adult cares for 5 infants. I guess he thought that someone would provide one-on-one care, diapers, wipes, and Formula $4.350/week that my stepson relayed their almost apology. They felt overwhelmed by an infant and couldn't imagine that someone else could manage the plus other things. Cullen is going back to daycare tomorrow. Cullen's dad is selling his dirt bike, and Amanda is selling some designer clothes, handbags, and shoes to cover the cost. It'll get easier for them in 6 months when he transfers to the 1-year-old class, which is a little cheaper. Story 4. I invited 15 of my closest friends to my birthday party, but they didn't even reply to the invite, and I feel so ashamed. 08/27/23I 27F made a WhatsApp group and invited 15 of my closest friends to my birthday party. I planned a nice themed dinner. The theme was Italy/Dolce Vita at a nice restaurant with one live music act, a nice cake ordered from a bakery and fitting the theme, and decorations that I wrote a heartfelt text. How I want to celebrate getting older with my oldest and greatest friends, and I detailed everything that was planned for the evening in the invitation. And then nothing. Nobody replied. Nobody said a word like thanks for the invite or looking forward or anything at all. After a few hours, my boyfriend posted a party meme in the WhatsApp group and wrote how excited he was to get it started. Still nothing. After almost 2 days, I posted a gif of chirping grills and made a funny comment, still thinking maybe people simply forgot to reply. After another day, I started texting people individually if they would like to come or if they are available that evening, and a few responded that they will let me know soon. Others didn't respond at all. After almost a week, not a single one of my friends posted into the group or have messaged me if they would like to come to my birthday party. After 0 invitation acceptances and after reaching out several times, I felt so ashamed. Like I was begging the people to want to celebrate me or to come. I started to cry and I felt so depressed. Ashamed and humiliated, I just deleted the WhatsApp group. Nobody has asked me about that either. My birthday is now just a week away. I called the restaurant and canceled. I called the bakery and canceled my order, and I returned the decorations I bought. Maybe I was the stupid one for organizing all those things beforehand, but I was just so sure that at least a handful of people would like to come/show up. I am just so sad. I have known most of my friends for at least 15 years. I was their bridesmaids, their child's godparent, their maid of honor. I was there at graduation ceremonies and birthday celebrations. And I am truly puzzled. Is it really such a burden to come to my dinner? A dinner which I would have paid in full, and which I tried to make it into a beautiful evening/event for everyone. I am just so sad and ashamed that I wasn't even worth a reply message. My boyfriend is trying to cheer me up, and he immediately got busy organizing a surprise birthday evening for me. He is wonderful, and I am just so glad he and my parents care so much about me. Otherwise, I would just feel absolutely worthless. Comment from you/magic_bothering. Who are these people? I can assure you it is extremely rare to have 15 close friends. OOP. Mostly people I went to school or kindergarten with. They are as many as 15 because I invited my friend and additionally their partner, so 6 invitees were actually additional partners. Hope that helps. Smiley face. Update 1. Same day I have read every single comment. The comments range from compassionate to giving advice or constructive criticism. All in all, reading all of them felt so incredibly uplifting and cathartic. Thank you all. I will continue reading and answering as much as I can and give you any updates. The people believing I will get a surprise party, I really won't. I think honestly every one of my friends is in their own bubble and has their own stuff going on and just wasn't feeling it right now, which was definitely hurtful and rude, but at least it didn't feel malicious. About my friends, they are not bad people at all, but they are probably victim to a world where commitment in general is a rare thing to find, where rules and manners are slowly forgotten, and where being constantly busy is a good enough excuse for anything. I found it rude, but I will not confront them, but rather distance myself. They are my friends because in times of crisis they were there for me, and we share many good memories. However, as many pointed out, you do grow apart, and this behavior might be a result of that. I talked to my boyfriend a lot and showed him some of the responses, and he was very reassuring. He told me the fact that I cared so much, that I always try to do things with love and care, That is one of the things he appreciates and loves most about me, and he never wants me to give that up. That I also reflected on me and my character, and I will try and do better myself, as I also sometimes forgot to reply to a text or canceled a lunch last minute. I will try to put the behavior out there that I would like to receive. I ordered myself a birthday calendar, an address book, and a couple of birthday cards, and I will note every birthday of a friend or acquaintance that I make and send them a birthday card. Too many of the comments talked about the hurt they felt when people forgot their birthday and didn't show up, and I find the idea to try to do things differently soothing. PS. Thanks also for the many birthday wishes. They made me so happy. PPS, for all the people wanting to come to my party, I wish. That would certainly be so cool and makes me believe that new friends are just around the corner. Smiley face. Downvoted comment from you / DeSantis. Hard disagree with the majority here. OP, you were 27. That's well beyond being a child, and well beyond expecting anyone to care about your birthday. Like, did you attend 15 birthday parties each year for all of these people? You probably did not. Or at least you can sympathize with people who are like, hey, we're in our 20s now. We've all got jobs and chores to do. Can't we just simply hang out? The older you get, the more you need to stop thinking only about yourself. What do other people want to do that you like doing? Maybe next time arrange something that people would mutually like to do rather than a vanity celebration for something you should have grown out of 20 years earlier. To OP. This comment is quite unfriendly, but I still appreciate that you took the time to comment. Update 2. Next day I followed the advice of basically everyone and asked a few of them what happened and why I wasn't even granted a reply or reaction. Especially when I kindly asked all of them to RSVP until a certain date. To all the optimistic people, I have to disappoint you, there wasn't a surprise party planned. Also, all of them use WhatsApp regularly, and all of them saw the invites. The group messages were tick blue. Now for their responses / explanations. Four of them had possible alternative plans and couldn't decide if they wanted to go to my party or to commit to the other plans, so they just didn't want to say anything until they decided on something. 2 girlfriends didn't have confirmation if their partner could attend or not, so again they just didn't say anything because they didn't know yet. All the partners were included in the group chat though. One said she wasn't feeling too well lately and wanted to decide spontaneously to come. One had a valid excuse, since she tried to find childcare for her 6-month-old child all week long. She is the only one with a child and she actually found childcare, so we will do something with her and her husband. That I told all of them how it made me feel, that it was rude, and that it made me cry and feel unwanted. I also told them that it is their loss, because if they don't appreciate me organizing nice events and evenings, this is not the first time I had issues like this. There simply won't be any for them to attend in the future. They all admitted that their behavior was rude and unfriendly and were apologetic and told me they are sorry. One friend said he really messed up, and after he saw I deleted the group, he felt pretty bad and wanted to approach me anyways. It is not ideal, but it is something that I will not cut them out as suggested by many. I talk to them, I express my hurt, and I will give them the opportunity to learn from their mistakes and to grow. They are flaky in a society that accepts flaky and non-committal behavior. They are human and faulty, and I'm also not a perfect human who does behave ideal all the time. I know that this answer may disappoint some. I will, however, make room in my life for people who are more reliable and who would be appreciative and enthusiastic about theme parties and will not rely too much on my current friends. All your messages were so uplifting and nice, and I honestly feel a lot better now, and I'm starting to look forward to my birthday again. I feel also incredibly optimistic that I will find like-minded people and friends in the future, and I won't give up. I will throw nice parties and dinners again, and I just have hope in my heart that my friends will have changed a bit, and I will also have made new, great friends by then. Thanks a lot again to everyone. Red heart, PS. To everyone telling me about their bad experiences, their birthday parties where nobody attended, and the moments they felt lonely. I feel so sad for you and with you, and wish for every single one of you to find people who love and appreciate you. You all help me to feel less ashamed and less alone. Story 5. AITA for cutting off my parents because they plan on leaving almost everything to my disabled brother. Trigger warnings. Possible ableism. Original post. January 3rd, 2025. My 24F brother, 32M, is a failure to launch. He's never been very smart. He did badly in school and never went to college. He tried 2 different trade schools, welding and mechanic, but he basically flunked out of both. He works at a gas station now. My brother and I are our parents' only children. They always treated us relatively equal until adulthood. They always insisted we earn our own way. They refused to pay for college or anything. I joined the military at 17, got an associate's degree while I was in, and my GI Bill went towards my bachelor's. I'm working towards my master's now. My husband and I have bought a house and have done well for ourselves. My parents, however, fully paid for my brother to try trade school twice. They've given him cash when he was behind on rent and countless loans. They support him cosplaying as an adult. Meanwhile, they never paid for my wedding, education, nothing. I don't really care so much that they didn't give me money, but the disparity in how they've treated me versus my brother. Our parents are in their 60s now, and while they aren't that old, they're both in bad health and probably won't live another 10 years. They just recently started working on their will and notified us that they were leaving almost everything to my brother. But they want me to be their medical power of attorney, manage their estate, etc. I told my parents to give my brother everything, and that I'm completely done with them. They told me to have some grace and understand the fact that he isn't very capable and needs their support. Even after they're gone, my mother had a doctor's appointment this morning and asked me for a ride since she medically can't work. I told her to ask her favorite child or pay for an Uber. Things have been tense and hostile. My brother called me to apologize and asked me to not be mad at him, but I told him that I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at our parents for not treating us equally, and he didn't do anything wrong. AITA? I meant to put disabled in quotation marks. My mother refers to my brother as disabled even though he isn't. She's had him tested for every kind of learning disability there is. He just has a below average IQ. She thinks that counts as a disability when it isn't. AITA has no consensus bot. OOP received mixed reactions. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. He does not sound disabled to me. If he went to 2 different trade schools, welding and mechanic, just lazy. Odds are if he gets the money, it'll not last him long, then he'll be looking to you to pay his bills. OOP. He's not disabled, but he's very unintelligent and has poor critical thinking skills. He doesn't really understand how to manage money at all, despite having been taught how. How is OOP's brother disabled? Medical issues, etc. OOP. He's not, he's just unintelligent. I meant to put disabled in quotation marks. My mother refers to him as disabled, but he's been tested and has no actual disabilities. My mother thinks being dumb is a disability. Commenter 2. If his IQ is that low, he is intellectually disabled. An IQ below 75 is considered intellectually impaired. It doesn't excuse the implied favoritism. OOP. When they had us tested, mine was 131, I believe, and his was around 80. It's been so many years, I'm having a hard time remembering. It definitely was above the cutoff for being considered intellectually disabled, because I remember them being surprised that he scored above it. Did OOP plan to take care of her parents when they get old? OOP. I originally was going to take care of them in their old age, but I now have decided they're going to a nursing home if it's up to me. I'm done. Commenter 3. But they want me to be their medical power of attorney, manage their estate, etc. This is a huge ask even if you stood to inherit. That you're expected to do all the heavy lifting and then be your brother's keeper after they pass it's a hell of a lot. Why can't OOP's brother live with their parents to take care of them? OOP. They don't want to ask him. He's forgetful, and they probably wouldn't be able to rely on him anyways. Update. January 5th, 2025, 2 days later. Hey, so the consensus on my post was a bit of a mixed bag. I sat down with my parents, and I wanted to give an update and answer some stuff. My brother is not actually disabled. He just has a low IQ, just over 80. You need an IQ under 70 where I live to be considered disabled and to qualify for any sort of benefits. My parents have babied him because from a young age, he wasn't as smart as other kids and had a low self-esteem because of that, and was quick to give up on things when they seemed too hard. He does okay on his own now. He works and pays his bills most of the time. He drives and lives with a roommate. On to the update. I sat down with my parents and explained that I've always felt like they treated me worse than my brother. They always emphasized to me that as an adult, you need to support yourself and figure things out on your own. I had to join the military at 17 because I knew they'd kick me out when I was 18. My parents never offered me any support outside of raising me as a child. They didn't buy my husband and I a wedding gift. They didn't offer much of anything. Meanwhile, they brag about having over $1 million in the bank and having succeeded from nothing. Meanwhile, they paid to put my brother through 2 trade schools that he failed out of, offered him money to start his own business. They've always bailed him out when he was short on rent. For me, it's not so much about the money, but about the disparity in how we've been treated. It's obvious that they loved and cared him more because they were willing to do these things for him, and not me. But despite them not being there for me, I've still done really well in life. I told my parents about all of this, and they were interrupting me and talking over me the whole time. They told me I'm not entitled to dime when they die, and that I'm an adult and I can handle myself. They just weren't understanding or even caring about my point. They told me I need to step up and treat them better, and that it's wrong of me to not take my sick mother to the doctor or take care of her because of money. Eventually, I just gave up on trying to talk about my feelings. They just don't care. I told them that they're adults and they're not entitled to anything from me. Just like how they were never required to help me, I'm not required to help me. I told them to completely remove me from their will. I'm not willing to be their estate executor, medical power of attorney, nothing. I don't want a dime from them at this point, and I suggested they spend all the money they've saved over the years to pay for really good nursing homes and an estate executor because I'm no longer willing to do anything for them. Then my mother was floored and asked if I'd really put my own parents in a nursing home. I asked if they'd really let their 17-year-old daughter join the army to get sexually harassed by older men in order to go to school without taking on a huge debt. Then my parents cried and yelled at me. And I left. And that's it, I guess. I kind of feel relieved, like a massive weight is off my shoulders. I have a wonderful husband. We own a nice home. I'm getting ready to start working on my master's degree, and we're thinking about maybe having a baby soon. I no longer have to worry about dealing with my parents. They're